Very good afternoon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Crossing Borders broadcast, the IMC streaming service, which we launched about 11 weeks ago now, in order to try and keep the investment migration community informed of the developments regarding SARS-CoV-2, and of course try to keep the community together, both members and non-members of the IMC. So before we kick off today's broadcast, I have a little, the basic housekeeping. But first, I do want to thank our sponsors who make these broadcasts possible. Today's sponsors are Pafilia property developers in Cyprus and Henley and partners in Zurich. If you've not seen one of our broadcasts before, you can access them from our YouTube channel. Just search Investment Migration in YouTube, and you can access the entire library of these podcasts when you have more free time and you are perhaps a little bit more relaxed. Don't forget to press subscribe. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. So today's broadcast, you can also use the widget which is on the right hand side of your screen. You've got the usual comments, raise your hand, or any questions that you have for today's speakers. Please use the boxes there. We'll also have some handouts. There's some information about Henley and Partners. There's information about Pafilia, property developers. Of course, there's the usual information about the IMC, how to join, and also some information about our certification in investment migration. As usual, we'll have a couple of polls to keep everybody a little bit engaged with us. I'm going to launch one of the polls now because we always want to know where everybody is from. So I'll give you 5 seconds to respond to that. All right, we're just getting at 75% of people that have voted. And I'm going to close that off and share the results on the screen with you. And this is interesting for our panelists as well. So 73% are from Europe and Africa, 18% from the Asia Pacific region, and then 9% from the Middle East, and nobody from the Caribbean or the Americas, which probably makes a lot of sense, I would say. So that's really interesting for us to know. All right, there's a short video at the end of today's program, so please do stay with us until the very end. Today we are going to be discussing how and if the client's expectations and selection criteria of global investment programs have changed during the pandemic, and how COVID-19 has triggered operational changes as far as the CIP is concerned. And we'll also look at the investment outlook for the future. There is going to be, of course, a focus on Cyprus. So I'm going to kick off by welcoming today's speakers. I'm delighted to introduce Eliadou, who's the Executive Director for Pafilia Property Developers in Cyprus. Which is, Eva is one of the 3 visionaries of Pafilia. She heads up the commercial department and plays a very important role in the strategic objectives and responsibility for the global growth of the business. She sits on the board of directors and is a member of the leadership team. So a very warm welcome to you, Eva, in Cyprus.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruno.
I also have Italian national Jacopo Zamboni, who's a director and client advisor at Henley and Partners. based in Zurich, Switzerland. So Jacopo's principal operational task is to provide advice on residence and citizenship planning to institutional clients, private banks, family offices, lawyers, and Jacopo, if I'm not mistaken, you do that in Switzerland and Luxembourg as well. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Bruno. Hi, everyone, and hi also to Evangelia.
All right, I want to start off straight away. A question to you, Eva. What's the situation in Cyprus at the moment, and what has been the impact of COVID-19 on the economy? So very briefly, if you could touch upon that. And then I want to look a little bit of how COVID has affected the citizenship by investment program in general. So how are things developed from the client's perspective? What are you hearing on the ground from your clients? So two parts to that question. First part is, what's the situation in Cyprus like today and the economy? And then second part is how COVID has impacted the CIP in Cyprus, please.
Starting with the situation currently in Cyprus, I would say that Cyprus has been one of the very few countries globally that we have, it has dealt very well with the COVID situation. We have taken quite early on, quite preemptively, a lot of measures. We were actually in quarantine mode almost more than 1 month with very strict measures. But fortunately, now everything is under control. I mean, almost the last 2 weeks, the incidence of COVID in Cyprus, they are like on a daily basis, 1 or 0. Overall in Cyprus is less than 1,000 cases. And currently in Cyprus, we are in a mode that, we are returning back to business. Everybody has resumed back to business. We are, as we say here in Cyprus, in the third phase. We are opening up the remaining, let's say, hotels have started opening up. We are opening now the malls, the gyms, which was in a way the last phase. Restaurants have opened. Flights also will start, and we have started with a plan that we will start flights with selected countries that have also dealt, with the situation of COVID, and the situation of COVID is under control in their countries. So, what we say is, and the mode of the people as well, which at the end of the day, this is the most important, is back to business as usual. So this is the situation in Cyprus. Now, of course, COVID has, definitely affected Cyprus as it have affected the whole world, has affected, and on a personal level, it has affected, I think, everybody, but also on a business level and on our economy as well. But Cyprus government, we are a very small economy, and in a way, although a lot of measures have been taken by the Cypriot government to help the businesses to tackle the COVID after effect, the belief of all the business people is that, the economy being small and flexible, we have the ability to turn this situation over very quickly. And I can say a bit more confident about our industry, let's say, the real estate, Pafilia, so that, because it's something that I can personally say, is that Pafilia and all the developers, I can say, or the people in the industry, they have remained active through the COVID period. We have all developed and in a way adjusted and keep adjusting to the new realities, because yes, COVID at some point, the pandemic will end when the medicine will come or the vaccine, but it has showed to everybody that we all have to respond faster to the new digital age. So as a company, we have developed a lot of marketing and sales tools so that we can offer to the clients the same experience remotely, or more or less as close as possible to the experience that he can have while being in Cyprus. We have continued with the same momentum, I have to say, receiving inquiries from clients as far as the real estate in Cyprus and the Cyprus investment program. What has changed the last 2 months because of the COVID is the actual turning of these inquiries to sales. To be very transparent with you, the number has dropped, not considerably, but it has dropped. And the reason is still the majority of the clients, they want to come physically to Cyprus. So they wait for the flight restrictions to be uplifted from their countries so that they will be able to visit Cyprus in order to choose the real estate. As you know, the Cyprus investment program, the threshold is 2 million euros. So we can understand why a big proportion of clients, they want to see physically the real estate. And currently, as Pafilia, just to share on a practical level what we are doing, as a commercial department, we have, in a way, 2 lists. The list of the clients that they're willing to proceed remotely, which I would say represents about 30% approximately of all the inquiries. And then the rest of the inquiries is people that they are waiting to visit Cyprus very, very soon. So in conclusion, what I would say is that the COVID situation hasn't affected the interest to the program of Cyprus or the interest to the real estate. On the contrary, my feeling says from the inquiries we are receiving that maybe we will see an increase in the near future, because what COVID made everybody realizing that they want a plan B in their life. It's not just about getting a second passport. It's also about relocating maybe in a nice country, in a nice, safe island. So, but at the moment, again, being transparent, the conversion to sales is a bit less than the previous years, but not the volume of the inquiries. And there is a significant proportion of remote sales because of the tools that Pafilia has developed and we have developed as well as an industry.
Thank you for that. That's really insightful. I guess I have a follow-up question to that. Do you think that the criteria of clients has changed since COVID-19, since the pandemic started? Whereas before, they had a tick box approach. We want something, in the EU with a good quality of life and maybe good education offering, good connectivity to the rest of Europe and the rest of the world with good international airlines. Do you see inquiries, the nature of those inquiries now changing somewhat, or are the inquiries exactly the same as they were before the pandemic?
I will give you, because I like always being directly involved in the business. I will give you some practicable examples that happened to Pafilia, the month of May. I had a client, the origin is from Russia, and he has invested with Pafilia a real estate, a very big value of real estate. We are talking like, considerably more than the threshold of the 2 million euros. His reason, when I asked him why he's proceeding now, he said, and actually this person, because I think it's important to share, this person already, he has secured the Cyprus passport, yeah? So he has already invested in Cyprus. He said to me, and actually he was one of the people that he flew from Moscow during the pandemic because he wanted to have with his family a nicer place to be in quarantine, let's say. You know, he wanted the sun, he wanted the sea, and he wanted like a nicer environment during this period. His requirement, or let's say his motive behind this purchase, was that he was looking something for the long run to satisfy his personal needs. So he wanted something larger, he wanted something more quality-wise and more high-end, and that's why he spent more money. Another example that I had was, again, another client of Chinese origin. Again, this deal happened this month. This client, again, instead of choosing, let's say, a villa or a property or multiple properties to the value of 2 million euros, again, the value of his investment was over 3 million euros, and it was a villa. Again, his requirement was, he didn't, of course, this guy bought remotely, was not like the Russian client that he actually was in Cyprus. But again, his requirement was that it was the plan B. He wanted to have a residence for the future as a plan B for his family. So what I see changing, again, in practical terms, is that before COVID, the majority of my clients, especially people of Asia and Southeast Asia, they wanted just to spend up to 2 million euros, and they wanted to make an investment because at the end of the day, they wanted the passport, but the passport was the means to secure them other things. So they were not interested about Cyprus in reality. So they were just wanting like an asset or a multiple of assets that they will have a rental income for them, or their first question when they were signing was about their exit strategy. What I see now is that these kind of people, they don't ask me anymore about the exit strategy. They just want to be really convinced themselves that this is an asset that they really like. You know, it's not just the means for citizenship. It's also the means that it will satisfy themselves, their personal needs as an individuals and taste, and maybe in their future, this is a location and an asset and a company that will suit them with the projects they have and the services they have.
All right. I want to come back to you on a slightly different point, which is how the government and real estate sector has adapted to the situation and made the application process more streamlined. But before we do that, I do want to come to Jacopo in Zurich. Jacopo, you're very much involved as the client advisor for Henley and Partners in Switzerland and Luxembourg. You're overseeing what different countries are doing. You're talking regularly with institutional investors or clients and direct clients as well. You have this sort of helicopter view of the industry from your Zurich base that perhaps maybe Eva doesn't have in Cyprus. And I think this is why it's very interesting that you're on this broadcast today. I want to ask you though, Jacopo, from your perspective, how do you think countries that have investment programs have been impacted financially by COVID-19, and how have investment migration programs helped these countries, and in what way?
Thank you, Bruno, for your question. So I think, as Eva was saying, and as you have mentioned various times in other webinars that you have organized, regardless of the impact on human lives, which was significant in certain countries, but there are countries that have investment programs where the toll was almost zero or limited. I was watching a webinar that you did with colleagues in the Caribbean, and for example, St. Kitts had 15 cases and 0 deaths. So I think if you look at all the countries we operate in, many were able to mitigate the effect on what happened to the local population. But what has happened and what is happening and what will happen, according also to the statistics and the data and the forecast that Mr. Guterres showed on one of your webinars from the IMF. He was showing the World Economic Outlook forecast, and what is clear is that most economies will basically lose 5 to 7% of their GDP during the course of the next 12 months. So I think what we can agree on is that the impact is there and it's significant. And unless you're Guyana, and which will see their GDP grow by 50% simply because they have found oil, most other countries will struggle. And as you have highlighted, and I don't want to repeat what has been said in other webinars, the only thing that countries can do right now is use fiscal policy and spend money. The issue is that not all countries have access to hard money to import things that are useful for their countries. So if we now look at the countries where we operate in, and it's most countries that offer investment programs, I think the answer, I don't want to sound overly simplistic, but of course, if usually the only way to have assets and funds that you can spend is attracting investments, of course, investment programs are a key way in attracting those investments, right?
Right.
So I think the answer is simple, and it's all economies will be badly hit. If you have investment programs, what we are seeing in the countries where we operate, they have funds that otherwise they would have not have had access to. What is important though is that these funds will be spent in a proper way, but that's a political answer. I think ours is more of a technical answer, and the technical answer is the investment programs help these countries raise funds. So if we look at a country which is close to us here, Malta has done various very simple changes in saying whatever we raise now, we will allocate in a higher percentage to immediate expenditure. Whereas in the past, a lot of the funds raised would be set aside for future investments, potentially also for future generations. Now they say, look, I will use these funds now because now is the time to spend and to help businesses. Because if they don't get through the situation, regardless of the health impact, which was also limited in Malta, like Cyprus, still, if people lose their jobs, then definitely the outlook will not be so great for these jurisdictions.
Okay, but how is, let me put this slightly differently to you. How has the nature of the inquiries that are coming through your desk changed in the last 2 to 3 months? And I guess, how is that impacting Cyprus?
Okay, so I think what has happened is twofold. One, it's not necessarily the criteria that has changed, even though it has. What has changed is that, you know, we have a constant demand, right, globally. And if you look at what has happened now, demand has increased. So what this crisis has caused, it has made apparent that having options and being potentially mobile and having a foothold in more than one country that you will probably come to love, just like Cyprus, is better than having just one option. So what has happened is untapped demand has been generated. As Eva says, not all of this demand has been converted because of operational reasons. And because, as Eva was saying, these people really want to create genuine links to the countries where they're investing in. And so, of course, this is good for the recipient country because you have people that really care. At the same time, it's bad because it delays the investment potentially until the moment the people can travel. So first point, criteria has not necessarily changed. What has changed is the distribution of those that now contact us. It is people that before maybe were extremely optimistic and thought that mobility was a redundant topic for them. Second, those that we were already in contact with, since we have a significant pipeline of clients or prospects from the past, they have started asking somewhat different questions. And they start asking how these countries have behaved in terms of repatriation. So they ask, okay, if someone was a Cypriot citizen or a Cypriot resident abroad, would they have been repatriated? Right? Let's say they were stuck in Brazil, in Sao Paulo now, and they didn't feel comfortable with the situation. Would Cyprus help? So, or any other country that offers investment programs. So we are starting to see some new questions, a bit more focus on healthcare. So what does the healthcare infrastructure look like? Because they say, okay, if this happens again, and this country becomes my plan A or my plan B, I want to be sure that healthcare is not just a bullet point in Henley's brochure where we have assessed how the hospitals work in that country. They really want to be sure that if they are there willingly, they will be happy to be there should something bad happen.
And that's the case, isn't it? I mean, once you become a Cypriot national, you are treated in the same way as if you were you acquired your Cypriot nationality through birth, your soli, or through blood, your sanguinis, right? It's exactly the same treatment, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. And what's interesting about that, I think, as well for the viewers to know, is although Cyprus is, you know, it's a small rock in the Eastern Mediterranean, it's a beautiful small country, but it punches above its weight in cases where you do need your foreign diplomatic corps to come in situations like COVID-19, where you suddenly have to repatriate a number of your citizens. Now, a country like Cyprus, and I'll get to my point, is that Cyprus is an ex-British colony, which, if I'm not mistaken, is still part of the UK Commonwealth, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So the advantage with that is that the diplomatic links with the United Kingdom would be very, very strong. So you would be able to, if you are a Cypriot stuck in Brazil or stuck in Asia, and you wanted to get back to Cyprus, then the diplomatic network of Cyprus is actually quite well developed, isn't it? I think that would be to comment on.
In fact, Bruno, just to say here that this has happened in practice the last 1 month. The Cyprus government made you know, a very detailed plan, and slowly it repatriated all the Cypriot citizens that they expressed the wish to come back. And in fact, they also made, it was not only the fact that they created specific flights, and they, you know, the Minister of Exterior was created the same day, 24 hours department to get online all the requests from students, people that maybe they went abroad in medical need, or that they were stuck because they had works to do abroad. And they made a huge effort, and everybody who expressed the intention to come back, wherever he was, they brought him back to Cyprus. And in fact, also they went a step further, and they also imposed people in quarantine in Cyprus, actually, you know, because some of my friends were, you know, followed that process. Our quarantine, and I was having that as in a way, as a discussion with some other, let's say, associates in other countries, and we were comparing, you know, our quarantine was like a holiday. They put the majority of the people in 5-star hotels, watching the sea, you know, watching the beach. So it was a very well thought out plan throughout. But what I want to add here as well, Bruno, on the question that you were posing, and what Jacopo said, that how people's considerations maybe have been affected after COVID. Yes, healthcare is very important, and everybody all over the world, they have seen how different countries have been tackling this COVID situation, how well or not well. But something that I want to stress that COVID also affected is that, of course, because a lot of economies are shaken, businesses might be in the future in trouble, or they're already in trouble. And also people that they're interested in real estate or programs that are related to real estate, investment programs. Another consideration it has changed is people want to feel safe. They're a bit afraid, It is more important than ever, the reliability, the brand name, the reputation of the company. Before, maybe you could say, sometimes, of course, when you make a business transaction, you want to be safe. But sometimes when things go well, maybe that can be not, maybe it's not like your number one, let's say, consideration. But when things you see globally, they're changing, things are a bit more shaken, then you need to be sure either you're investing at 300,000 euros or at 2 million, you want an asset that you want to be secured. So I just wanted to say that this also, I have seen it from clients. They want either projects that are established or companies behind these projects that they can convey this reliability and good reputation.
All right, let's talk about that a little bit. Slightly different, but what I would like to know, what our viewers want to know, and this has come in from a question from Shanghai. What has the Cypriot government done, and how is the real estate sector supporting changes to simplify the application process and make it more streamlined and effective? Okay. Now, one of the examples I can give you on this is the Caribbean countries, right? They've dealt really well with COVID-19 in terms of processing of applications. Why? Because they're experienced in lockdowns. They every year go through the hurricane season. So, for them, hurricane season means stay at home, close your shutters, don't leave your house. And that happens every year. Now, for the most part, the rest of the world, we're not really used to that. So we're used to, sort of going out and about, passing documents, delivering letters and things like that. So my point is the Caribbean, for them, it's almost business as usual. Has that been the case in Cyprus, or what is the government doing to streamline the application process, make it more efficient? And how is the real estate sector, which is, of course, Pafilia's speciality, been involved and supporting this?
Well, one for me very important change that the Cyprus government, or at least something that the Cyprus government realized, is the time of the processing of the application. Because, if you see the Cyprus citizenship program, the time of processing, we were always saying or advertising it's 6 months from the day of submission. In fact, the last 2 years, this 6 months time frame, it was growing 8 months, 10 months, and went almost to 1 year from the day of submission to approval. So something that the Cyprus government at COVID made them respond in a way sooner to this wish of us as well, because we believe that the time of processing is critical to a client. It has to be as short and as short as possible, so that, of course, all the due diligence can be made. What we have seen as a reaction from the government is the last 1 month, they are approving almost 50 citizenship applications per week. So they have started in a much quicker mode approving, and their intention is that all the fresh applications, whoever is submitting from now on, they will fall within the 6 months time frame. So for me, this is a very good change. So shall I continue, Bruno?
Yes, please. Yeah.
So for me, this is very important because, you know, as you are aware, you give the money up front, and the sooner you know, the better it is, and for the client and for everybody involved in this transaction. So for me, this is a very positive change. Another, let's say, not change, I wouldn't say, flexibility, I would say, that the Cyprus government has shown to the citizenship applications is that they have become a bit more flexible with the papers that they need to be submitted, because knowing the difficulties that exist in different countries with the embassies, they can start the citizenship application without a lot of documents to be present, or they can be submitted later. For example, the Schengen visa, which is a requirement of the citizenship application for Cyprus. Now, this Schengen visa can be provided before approval. So it gives time frame to people until the COVID, let's say, effects on different countries, they will be tackled and everybody will go back to normal. It provided the government this flexibility so that the applications can be processed, and these documents like Schengen visa or birth certificates, let's say, if they're not properly certified, to be provided at a later stage. So that was important for us because as Pafilia, we were, you know, we are promoting the remote applications, the remote citizenship process. So it was very important for us that an applicant can start this process without complications. Another thing that as developers we are discussing with the government, and it is we think it's going to be a very positive change, is that the treatment of the Cyprus investment program to the politically exposed people. As it is now, political exposed people is anybody who was holding any kind of government position or related to government for the last 5 years. We are now trying, and I think there is a very big chances of this being announced very soon, that the essence that any investment program in the world should check with the PEPs is the source of funds. You know, it's this is the critical, what is critical as far as due diligence is concerned. So this is another direction that I think will change in the future for the Cyprus citizenship program, although nothing has been, I cannot commit to anything. I'm just saying, revealing, let's say, what is being discussing at the moment. But I believe that
I'm sorry, I'm very glad to hear that. You probably know that the IMC has worked for actually over a year with a special task force, a working group, which includes Refinitiv, BDO and Evangelia, the three important due diligence providers in the space of investment migration, to come out with best practice recommendations for governments and agents. And we presented those to the government of Cyprus. We've done that to the government of Malta, into the Caribbean. And what we are seeing now is that governments are starting to take up those recommendations and tweak them a little bit to their requirements. But in essence, you know, a PEP is a PEP, whether you're in Malta or in Cyprus or in the Caribbean. Practically the same checks need to be undertaken with that. And that will provide more long-term sustainability for the industry, for those that have inherent biases against citizenship by investments. But I want to come back to Jacopo, because this is quite interesting now. What we see is, Eva's talked us through the almost the application process, changes that Cyprus has made, and that essentially describing the steps to the naturalization process. But what happens after that? Jacopo, once a person has been naturalized Cypriot?
So again, I think the natural answer is somewhat easy. The natural outcome would be that these people end up making the most of their new country. Nevertheless, if you consider who these individuals are, they are usually ultra high net worth individuals and they're highly mobile. And so there's still a high probability that these individuals might sooner rather than later relocate to other countries. So after the Cypriot naturalization journey has finalized, there may be personal circumstances that make the individual and the family then say, okay, I need to be closer to Switzerland because my company has significant investments there, right? Or I need to consider other jurisdictions for a variety of reasons, including quality of life, of course, which we said in Cyprus is great, but people's emotions and feelings change, right? And so what we are seeing actually is that let's take individuals of Russian origins. They naturalize Cypriots, and then what we are seeing in this, for example, target group, is that they end up relocating in 3 key countries. And one is UK, and let's see what happens then to migration to UK for EU nationals later onwards. Switzerland, and more recently, well, not so recently, not in these months, Italy. And one of the key drivers there was recognizing that in these countries, they have already significant business exposure. It's countries that they like, but primarily it's countries that recently or also historically have been welcoming to foreign, let's say, ultra high net worth individuals by offering specific attractive tax regimes. So what we are seeing is that these individuals, for example, come to Switzerland to benefit from lump sum taxation. I know today is not a tax webinar and we are not tax advisors, but basically, as you know, these individuals come here because the tax authorities are happy to negotiate how much taxes these individuals should pay. And this is quite attractive for some coming from countries where how much taxes you pay is not really well known even after you've paid them. So Italy is somewhat similar because they say, well, if you relocate to Italy as a pensioner, you only pay 7%, or you pay 100,000 euros regardless of whether you're Bill Gates or someone else, okay? And the UK, I don't need to further elaborate. It has a quite well-known tax regime, and it's out of scope for today's conversation. And we still don't know how Cypriot nationals will be treated post-Brexit.
Okay. I'm conscious of the time, and we've had a really good question that's come in, and in fact, it was on part of the list. And it goes to both of you. Perhaps Eva, you drum into the macro side, and then Jacopo can give us the sort of overview of what his response would be on this. The question's fairly straightforward, in fact. I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal balls, and both of you tell our viewers what you think the future of the Cypriot Citizenship by Investment Program looks like. Eva.
Yes, I was trying, the connection is not good, so I'm like trying to concentrate not to miss anything from your question. But I got the crystal ball and the future of the Cyprus investment program, yes?
Yeah, what's your perspective? What does the future look like for the Cypriot CIP?
Okay, I think the Cyprus investment program, the future is a very positive one, and also a long one. It's not there is not a short future, in my opinion, because the Cyprus investment program has shown the benefits it can give to the local economy of Cyprus, and especially to a small country like Cyprus. And COVID, if we want to link it also with the COVID, after COVID, let's say, situation, is that it makes everybody realize, you know, how important and valuable such programs are, and how beneficial are those programs to the economy. At the same time, with the changes that the Cyprus government introduced in May, you know, putting more a process as far as the due diligence, the clients, checking the source of funds, taking a step further, the qualification of an applicant to become a Cyprus citizen. I think also that secures the longevity of the program, because people that they will pass and they will become citizens of Cyprus, they're good individuals, good business people, and only value they can bring to Cyprus. And this is, I have to say, as something that I always say, because as you say, always these programs, they attract attention, political attention on a local level as well. I always say that, you know, these individuals is not only about buying a real estate or getting a citizenship. A lot of people, you know, they're setting up business in Cyprus. They bring value to the community as a whole. They relocate companies to do business in Europe. They relocate their families, a percentage of them. So for me, I think that sometimes difficult situations, they can make us realize even stronger certain things. And I think this is what COVID is doing as far as Cyprus is concerned, and the Cyprus investment program. And I do believe that, you know, the outlook is positive, and you know, it's not going to be a short one.
You've got some exciting projects in the pipeline as well for Pafilia?
Yes, always, Bruno. Pafilia always has exciting projects in the market. I mean, we are 40 years in the market. We are one of the longest established companies in the island of Cyprus, and we are the biggest private company in the island of Cyprus. We have currently, I would refer to 3 of our main projects, which are called our flagship projects as far as the real estate of Cyprus is concerned. We have Minthis, which is a 5 million square meters of land in a Natura area with a golf resort, and a very international community in place there, which is offers different type of residences and villas to the client. It's Neo, which is again 4 high-rising towers on the seafront in the most prime location of the island of Cyprus, in Limassol on the seafront. And of course we have one, which is the first high-rising project in Cyprus, and it's almost ready to be completed, along with a multitude of other smaller projects with villas, apartments in various areas. But what I want to say here, Bruno, is that Pafilia, the advantage is that all of our projects, they are in such a state that they give comfort and confidence to the client, especially in these challenging times that we are living. The infrastructure is completed for Minthis, for one. So this is very important considerations nowadays, along also with the history and the years of experience of the company.
Fantastic, thank you. And for our viewers, if you want more information about the Cyprus, the developments that Pafilia has, you can, of course, download in the handout section, which is in the right-hand side of your screen, a Cyprus property guide and the Pafilia corporate preview PDF. And the same bit of information about Henley and Partners, residency and citizenship brochure. Jacopo, some final thoughts from you, please.
I cannot comment, let's say, from the political perspective. What I can say is that based on the inquiries that we are receiving, provided, as Eva says, the program is still there, and I think it will, considering all the let's say, introductions that we made on what is happening to Cypriot economy, but to the world economy in general, and hence to how more important these have become. I think we will see, actually, that is what I'm seeing, further clients that are looking for even more investment options in Cyprus. So considering also the recent projects with the US and Israeli companies focusing on exploration, I think this will entail a certain diversification of the Cypriot economy. And so you will definitely have investors that will be keen on having not only real estate exposure, but as Eva was saying, investing and setting up companies to benefit from new sectors that will pop up in the Cypriot economy.
Perfect. Thank you both very much. If you do want to reach out to Eva or Jacopo, both are members of the IMC. You can find their contact details on the IMC website, investmentmigration.org/membership directory. Unfortunately, we are slightly over time. It's been absolutely a delight and very interesting afternoon. Thank you both to Eva for joining us from Cyprus and to Jacopo for joining us from Switzerland. I hope the audience at home enjoyed and found this session as interested as I did. If you're not already a member of the IMC, then go to the website, download some information, join the wider global IMC community. We're nearly 500 members from 45 different countries. We'll be back next Wednesday, that's the 10th of June. We'll be looking at the Cayman Islands residency product, which could be an ideal solution for high net worth individuals. I'll be talking to Sue Nickerson, who's the Vice President of Sales for Dart Real Estate, and Daniel Atwood, who's a Senior Associate for Bedell Christen Cayman Partnership, both in the Cayman Islands. Please don't forget to complete the survey that you'll receive when this broadcast finishes. And we'll now thank you very much for joining us once again.
Thank you.
With the IMCET video. So thank you very much again to both our panelists and to you, the audience.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Stop here. Άντε με τα κλείστε, μην ξέρω.
Introducing the Certification in Investment Migration from the Investment Migration Council, the first structured learning product of its kind globally, designed for you. Explore the bite-sized learning pathway of each module on our custom online platform. You can track your progress as you go and learn at a pace that suits you, with an estimated 5 hours of study time per module. The Certification in Investment Migration contributes to the development of professional competencies and standards for those new to or already working in the industry. So, what are you waiting for? Visit our website to start your learning journey today.